Okay, we're back at recording here. Now I'm going to take you back to that problem, which is a hand problem. It's a hand problem because you got to be able to visualize and slide 2D vectors, realizing that when you slide them along their line of action, there's nothing funny about it. It's going to cause the same moment. If, in fact, later on you want to slide them off their line of action, you need to, in fact, replace that slide by a moment or a torque equal to the area of the slide of the vector, which is usually a perpendicular slide. You'll see that in other vectors, but let's see how you can slide vectors, use some of these things. Again, without scale at this point in AutoCAD, you do that, of course, by starting with an AutoCAD plane, knowing what units you're in. Now, all of a sudden, make sure that you have line types that you can keep track of. I'm taking line type here. I've begun a drawing, and I got some line types I can kind of keep track of for sliding around. Now, finally, without any scale, we have to remember that we bring in an image by XREF. I am XREFing in at this point something here which we don't see. We're going to XREF in a image. That image, of course, we're going to stick out and know where it's at. That image should be out at this point at a standard place in the K drive. And pretty often using a place called standard. Look for your JPEGs, vector scan. You notice here the first thing you're going to want to do later is to, in fact, put this to some particular scale. I'm just arbitrarily putting it there. The next step would, of course, be I'm going to get rid of that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to. File references, click that there. It jumped around on me. We're going to run out of space here in a little bit. I'm going to click that one out there. No, cancel. I can get caught there. I don't need that. Zoom extents. Now, somehow I lost that again. I'm going to do it again. XREF. We're going to go ahead and XREF in an image. That image should be someplace in the transfer or wherever it is. Bring that in. Hit OK. Bring it in some arbitrary bit. Now here I should be able to close that out. Zoom extents. Now we have something we can draft on top of. Realistically, image adjust, click on it, right click, properties, transparency, crop, all the kinds of different stuff, but the fade, we can fade that out. Sometimes that helps. Now we can use we don't have a scale to it, and for knowledge now, we're not going to put it to scale because the whole concept of this is that it's conceptual and the distance is the magnitude. Later on, you obviously, as soon as you go into an AutoCAD plane, your first sense would be that you're going to scale one of these and rotate it, translate it, rotate it, and scale it to be correct. That said, this drawing, I didn't start correctly, so I don't have any layers, so I can start and make some layers. I'll call this open vectors, and I'll do the other one, call it closed vectors. And probably for all intents and purposes I should make one color and the other a different color. And now I can set myself to close vectors, and I can draw now a line on the closed vectors, kind of getting to that point, drafting on top from there to there. Remember, drafting the line in the right direction from there to there, and finally from line from there to, in fact, there. Remembering, in fact, that now I probably can go here, right click. I'm going to just begin this to be 10, 11, 12. And I got here a little bit here, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to go ahead and change, breaking all the rules now that Mr. Tilk is in the room. I'm going to change the line type to, I don't have the line types in there, so I need to make sure I go through here and do this. Load up my line types. My line types I need to load from a standard place. A standard place is probably going to be out on the K drive in standards or some other place called ACAD Force. I now have all of these line types, which are 45 in number. They show direction. And so as I go through here, I can take that one, right click, change its properties to the line type is no longer going to be standard, it's going to be 10 force. And I'm going to take that one and change its line type to not the closed vectors, but it's line type to 11 force. And then finally this one, I'm going to change its line type to 12 force. Mark my words, at this point in time you're going to see something I never do, and that is of course change my O-snap tracking on. Shift right click, we're using extension and then object snap tracking. We're going to stick a point right now here. Be done in a second. A point here. I'm going to grab the end here. You see how it's grabbing that direction? I'm going to grab the end here, stick a point right there, which means now I can hit an escape here, left click spacebar, 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 talk to myself, yes. Move to the node of that point. I can now take this one. Remember, it went in that direction. I'm going to left click. I'm going to left click spacebar, 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 spacebar. Move to where? To the end point of that one. I've got those two together. That means I can just take this one, shift it from there to there, go to the end point there. I now can get rid of this vector, and I now have those. We still want to put a point at its intersection. Add those two. You want to put a point at the intersection. Hopefully this was not completely screw up. So you see how it starts to grab all kinds of weird intersections. It's probably going to be an issue. We now have that. You're going to left click, and then you can go shift right click if you would to the intersection there. And then this one's going down, left click spacebar, move. You're going to put it there, but in all reality you're going to then take it out here to the end point of that one. And you have, in effect, to the end point there. This, in fact, is the addition of those three vectors. And it has a line of action that goes this way, all the way through. So the three solid vectors are added that way. In the interest of time, I'm going to stop that there, but realize right now, X line from the endpoint there to the endpoint there, that gets you your line of force. That X line should probably be on a separate layer in a different color. Right click, properties. That color should be something very, very shady so you can't see it too much, something like that. Okay. And then, in fact, the last thing you want to learn is that, in fact, you want to do a lot of draw order. Thanks for listening.